You're our viewers here. Welcome to your show, my show, our show, The Digging Deep Show. We have a man who is an author, an entrepreneur, black activist, human rights activist, if I may say, by the name of Romeo Effs. Sir, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, can you please introduce yourself?
Well, you're right. Number of hats. I'm currently CEO of RSP Group Limited, and it's a business I started a year ago after leaving corporate. There are 4 companies in the group. One is involved in technology. The other one is involved in chemical manufacturing. There's one in consulting, and the one that I'm very passionate about is called Empire Builders Academy. I've always been very entrepreneurial, and I've always had a dream of owning my own business. It started out with a dream of owning my own business, and then it started out with the dream evolved into a dream of owning a global conglomerate. Because I believe that if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. And so I started my first business at age 16. I was doing A-levels, and was struggling to pay my tuition, and I was boarding with a lady whose daughter was doing a baking course, and she used to have bring the products that she would bake in these classes home, and the dining room was just getting crowded with all of that. So I took them to school, raffled them, sold them, and that helped to pay for my tuition. And the profits were split between that. And I've started several businesses since then, most times working in corporate at the same time as well, just juggling those 2 things. So, yeah.
So how did RSPE came into picture?
Well, RSPE, it's actually the acronyms for my name. So my name is Romeo St. Paul Effs. So it just came from that, and I'm Jamaican, and in Jamaica, when I left corporate for the first time, I started RSPE Holdings Limited, and within that group we had a company involved in transportation and logistics, a VIP car service, a tour company, and a car rental business as well. And so the evolution of RSP here in the UK has been bred out of just the desire for me to go after that dream and achieve that dream right now.
Mm-hmm. Food for the poor.
Yeah,
it's one of the projects which you founded.
Well, no, I wouldn't say I founded Food for the Poor. I worked there for a number of years. So Food for the Poor is the largest charity in the Caribbean. It's founded by a gentleman known as Ferdinand Mafood, who Jamaica used to be controlled by 21 families, and his family, the economy of Jamaica used to be controlled by 21 families, and his family was one of those families. And so he started that. So it was a time in my life when I was kind of searching as to, where should I be? I was, pretty progressive as far as corporate was in Jamaica. I was, very involved in politics, had businesses going, but then I was still searching for something. And a friend of mine just introduced me to Ferdy, and over breakfast he just said, why don't you come and work with me? And that was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. It taught me so much to be working with the poor. I learned so much from them. I thought I was poor and my family was poor, but after work, the real poor, it was just amazing. And the fact that they were just so humble and ambitious and spiritual, that really, really resonated with me. Really, really resonated with me, and made me appreciate the things in my life more.
But in your own opinion, I know many people, they say we are all self-made. Yeah. Only the rich accept it. How true is that statement? Should we say those who are poor, it's a self-made decision?
Well, the first thing is that I don't think anyone is self-made. So people are going around saying, "Oh, I'm a self-made millionaire." That's rubbish. You cannot become a millionaire without the help of others, whether or not you employ them or people have mentored or sponsored you. So that's one thing. For the poor, I don't think that it's it's the economic situation that has evolved, and history has taught us that, you know, our most of these countries where you have majority of the poor are situations where people have come in, for example, you know, the English, the American, the Europeans, and they have pivoted and, you know, and taken the resources without giving back to the society. So that's one situation. I think poor people want to excel. I think if they are given the opportunity to excel, they will. And there are many situations around the world where you have seen poor people have moved themselves out of poverty through education, through many other opportunities. I mean, when I was at Food for the Poor, one of the things we started a thing called Starting Life Project, where we would look for poor women who has children in countries like Haiti, Nicaragua, Jamaica, and we would give them a start in life. So we would either give them something like a sewing machine, and we would give them the training for that. We would set up them with little farms, and every single one of those women were able to produce, take care of their children. Some of their children got good education, and then were able to take the rest of the family, you know, out of that extreme poverty to a better place. So, you know, if we give poor people the opportunity, they will take it and they will run. The majority of them will, and I've seen many cases of that.
All right. Coming here in United Kingdom, there's this baby ethnic minority circles.
Okay, yeah. So the ethnic minority circles. So when I first started working here in the UK, I started working with my first full-time job was with Accenture, the consulting company. And while at Accenture, I realized that in my offering where I was one of 5, let's call it colored people in the group. 4 were Indians, and I was the only black person there. And so I said to myself, you know, there's something kind of wrong with this picture. and so I started asking around, why is it that, you know, we don't have more black people in these organizations? And you know, I started hearing a lot of excuses. You know, oh, there's a glass ceiling, there's institutional racism, you know, all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And to me, I didn't take that as an excuse. I'm like saying, you know, that's rubbish. You know, I mean, there are opportunities out there to be had to make your life much better. You know, just go for it. Yeah. So what I started doing, I started just finding out people within the organization who are black, and just started asking questions, mentoring them, giving them some tips and tools, etc. And it just evolved from that. You know, one person tells someone else, one person tells another person. And right now I have about 20 to 25 professionals. Some of them are startup businesses, some of them are university students, some of them are working full-time. And I just mentor them individually or as a group. You know, we have activities. You know, I give them the steps that they need to take in order to be successful, whether in their business or professionally, and also in their personal life, because you can't separate that. You know, you are who you are. You know, and you bring your entire self, whether to your business or to your place of work.
As a coach and a mentor, how do you coach your people to handle racism? Was you know, like you're saying, we have heard of these issues that there's a lot of racism.
Yeah.
How do you coach people to handle it?
Well, I tell them that the reality is that there is racism, and they need to accept that there is racism. That's one. The second thing is that there are laws that protects you against discrimination as far as racism. And in the corporate world, most companies have policies that protect you against that. Okay? So if it is extremely blatant, and the problem with a country like the UK is that racism is very subtle. It's very, very subtle. So sometimes it's really very hard for you to pick it up. The fact is that everybody wants to be fair. And so when it comes down to racism, people tend to push it into their subconscious. But it comes to the forefront in ambiguous situations, right? So when I'm coaching and mentoring my guys, I say to them, look, racism is not your problem. You need to deal with racism as if it's almost like a bag. And if you take that bag on, it's going to weigh you down and hold you back. And that's what people who discriminate against others want. They want to hold you back into a certain position. So therefore, they give you this baggage. They give you this weight to hold you down so that you don't lift off or that you don't thrust. So I said to them, don't take that bag on. Make it seem as if, it's water on a duck's back. It might hit you initially, but then you have to develop that mindset and force yourself to let it go. Because you know what? It's their problem. It's not your problem. It's they are the ones that have the problem. So let them deal with that, right? You don't take that on, because as far as you're concerned, your eye is on that dangling carrot right there. That's where you're going. And if you take that baggage on, that's just going to hold you back. I've seen too many people in the corporate world try and fight this whole battle of racism, and they spend years doing that, and they expend so much energy and so much emotion. And if they had just flipped the script and put that energy and emotion
into positive things,
yes, and into getting along with their career, becoming the subject matter expert, delivering that high performance, delivering the exceptional results, they would be far ahead of the game.
So, what can we say is the challenge of the black people, the ethnic minority in the United Kingdom, at the present moment?
I think, especially when it comes to, so I'm going to separate it into two spheres. Yeah, one is from a professional standpoint. From a professional standpoint, I think one of the biggest issue is lack of exposure to what the corporate world is. So majority of us grew up in families where none of our parents were in corporate. We're blue-collared workers. We work in the factories, we do the menial stuff. So we were not exposed to the languages or the corporate language. Sorry, Whereas, for example, your dad might be on a conference call and you hear him speaking the language, or they would take you into the workplace so that you get exposed to what corporate world is. So, as black people, we go to universities, we get our degrees, and then we're put into this environment. It's people might look at this as differently from the way I see it, but I tend to look at it like slavery. You're taken from Africa, and then all of a sudden you're put into a totally new society and environment, and you're like, I'm not used to this.
There's a maze which you do not know how to maneuver.
Exactly, you don't know how to maneuver. So that's the same situation in corporate. You get into the corporate world, and there's no one there guiding you. There's no one there telling you, okay, this is what you need to do. This is the first step you need to take. That is how you maneuver this. Because the corporate world is a game, and if you don't know how to play that game, you're not going to succeed. Then on the side of business as well, a lot of us don't see business as a way out and a way of getting that independence and a way of getting that economic power. So therefore, we tend to think that, okay, we just need to find this little job, we just need to just settle down, don't ruffle any feathers, work until we're 65, retire, get the pension, and then, die and go to heaven and say hallelujah, right? When there is this sector over here called business, that if you get in it, and we have so much difference that we can offer in the business world. Difference in terms of our culture that is so rich and vibrant that everybody over the world wants right now. Difference in terms of the things that we can manufacture, the things, our lives, because it's an information age right now. People are buying information, right? And our life story is so rich that people will be listening to us and want to pay for that kind of thing, And we have I've seen situations where we have so much great ideas, and yet still when we die with those ideas. We need to understand that our thoughts are the most powerful creative force in this earth.
All right, talk about information. I have seen 2 new books coming up by Mr. Romeo Effs. Can you tell us more about the books, please?
So one is Enthusiasm Unchained. Enthusiasm Unchained is targeting the black professional market, and it really speaks about how to play the corporate game to win. Not just to play it, but to play it to win. Right? It talks about becoming focused. In other words, the right mindset, helping you to identify your values and your purpose, looking at your history and how that history has served you in where you are now. It looks at helping you creating that mindset, which I call your state, that right state, looking at the 8 spheres of your life, looking at things like your emotions and how that helps you, how you can challenge that better, looking at your spirituality, looking at your social networking, all of that. Then it looks at your story, the fact that you need to have a vision.
Oh, yes.
And don't just aim here. Aim high. I remember when I was going to high school and I came home and I told my mom that, my teacher said I should aim for the clouds. And my mom got so upset. She says, aim for what clouds? Are you crazy? Aim for the skies. Because if you aim for the sky and you fall, you might fall on a cloud. If you aim for the cloud and you fall, then you're back on the ground, right? So, and that's the thing I find with a lot of us black people, we tend to aim too low. We need to aim really, really high. As I said before, if your dream doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. You're supposed to be shaking when you build your vision. So it's helping people to reach further and faster. And then mapping that vision out in something that I call a vision roadmap. Oh. And then chunking it down and mapping it and then planning the different steps. And then taking those steps one at a time. We tend to get overwhelmed a lot of the time, when we think of, I want to start this business, but then, so much things keep going around in our heads. But as Martin Luther King says, if you're climbing a staircase, you don't see the entire staircase. You just take the first step. Just take the first step. If you're driving from here to Birmingham in the middle of the night, the car light don't shine all the way to Birmingham. It shines 200 meters. And you trust that as you drive the next 200 meters, it will shine the next 200 meters. Yeah, so that's exactly how you need to plan, you need to do with your vision. Just take those steps. And then I talk about action, how do you become a subject matter expert? How do you deliver high performance? How do you leave memorable experiences in the workplace? How do you build your network in the workplace so that you can get the right sponsor to push you forward? So that's enthusiasm on change. The other one is called the building blocks of enterprise. And I've established 10 building blocks of enterprise.
All right.
And just taking you through each of those, telling you how you can use those to, whether or not you're already in business, to take your business to the next level. Right? And if you're starting up your business, it's a good tool for you to tell you, all the stuff that you need to do in order to get your business going.
If you're just joining us now, we have come a long way. But thank God the man is still with us. You will get a little bit of the stuff. How do people, how can you get them?
Well, initially for the first, for a limited period of time, the book that's been released in February, Enthusiasm Unchained, which is focusing on black professionals. I'm giving away 10,000 copies of that book.
Wow!
Yes.
Christmas came early!
Because I think it's important to pass the information out and get it to as many people as possible. And people who might not be able to afford the book once the publisher wants to recoup their money, right? So, you can just, the details are on the screen for people to go and just sign up, and then they'll be able to get a copy of the book.
All right, so please rush. There's information here coming for free. Christmas came early. Thank you so much. The other thing which we may want to ask is, how do you juggle the three, being an author and business a person and also the family?
I can't tell you it's easy. I always tend to say that there are 24 hours in the day, and if you squeeze, you can get 30. But in terms of the family, I have really good support, from my mother and my sisters. And that's one of the good things about the black community. For us, raising a family is a community. People will chip in. Your cousin, your auntie, that kind of stuff, and give you support. And my kids are actually in Jamaica. Because I wanted them to be educated there. So between 11 and 1 p.m. every night, I'm on Skype doing homework with them, that kind of stuff. And great. Yes, and so writing, I tend to do. I fill my day with with work. Every minute of the day is filled with work. So I get up at 5 in the mornings, I go to the gym, and then I start my day. But then I also have good people on my team as well. That helps to keep me in check and helps to get stuff done. So.
As somebody who is a coach in business and entrepreneur, employment areas, the black community, where do you see them going? There seem to be a high rise of the black man being unemployed in the United Kingdom.
Yes, there is. As I said before, right now, Race for Opportunity did a study, and it showed that 50% of black males between 17 and 27 in London are unemployed. 50%. And for me, the issue is that everyone focuses on getting them into employment, when research also shows,
including the government,
mainly the government, is them into employment. But research has also shown that especially African males are far more enterprising than any other male of any other species. So the logic to me would be that we should put the infrastructure in place to help them to start their own businesses so that they can become employers instead of employees. And the research also goes further to state that more black-owned businesses employ more black people. So therefore, it might take some time, but you could see the logical progression, in doing that.
What do you think is the solution to the black male in the United Kingdom?
As I said before, I think one of the solutions to the problem, I'm not saying it's the only one, is to try and provide the infrastructure and the training required so that more of these unemployed black males can end up starting their own businesses, and a lot of them have really, really great ideas. One of the things that we're doing in a charity that I'm chairman for is that we're using sports. So we're using basketball, and we're using that as a push or as a catalyst to help people start their own business. So the plan around that is to use the basketball because basketball is the third most played sport in the UK, and a lot of ethnic minorities play, especially black people, play basketball. So use that as a pull to pull them in. Find out if there are people who are interested in television, to produce sports events or into technology, into event planning, that kind of stuff, and then partner with companies like ITV or Sky, to send them in to get them trained for a period of time into that kind of thing. Partner with companies like Google so that they could teach them, the technology side of sports technology. Partnering with event companies so that they can learn that. And then what we will do is that we take them back in house and we then teach them how to run a business, how to operate a business, the whole entrepreneurship around that. But then we don't just only let them go, and we're only interested in people who want to start their own business. If you want to start your business, we're not interested.
If you want to look for a job,
go find a job, that's fine. Send out your CV, but we want people who are passionate and have that dream of starting their own business. But then, once we've trained them up in that, we then still remain a part of their business. So we sit on their board, we give them guide, the consulting company, and